Here we go!
Alpha Chat.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of Alpha Chat, the feature where we talk about game series in an alphabetical order. And again, joining me today is Divine Rogue Ben.
Hi, how's it going? Yet again?
So today we're going to be talking about a game series with letter B, which is Battlefield. We'll be talking about it in three different sections: what got us into the series, what our favourite game in the series is, and what we think the future holds for it. Okay, so Ben, you start off. What got you into the series of Battlefield?
So, the first game that got me into the series was Battlefield Bad Company 2.
Quite late in the series, considering that, if anyone doesn't know, it started off as a PC series, which started with Battlefield 1942. And it's had a few games since then, but
Yep.
yeah, but then it spawned its own little sub-series called Bad Company.
Yeah, which I joined into it too, as I said earlier. And so I got to grips with that straight away. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the graphics weren't as scratched with, if you compare it to Call of
Up to
Duty.
scratch, yeah.
You know what I'm trying to get at here. Yeah, if you compare it to Call of Duty, the graphics went up to scratch, but I thought the actual gameplay overall was far better. I thought it was just so much more surreal than just go around in Call of Duty in little alleyways with people like quickscoping. I mean, what's up with that? Like, who's going to quickscope in real life? Whereas Battlefield Bad Company 2 is just so much more realistic. And if I go for a war game, I go on realism. And this
Battlefield is
by
not
far
realistic.
God, it's so much more realistic than Call of Duty, though. That's what I'm comparing it.
No, you can't really compare it on realism. It's Battlefield is alright. Okay,
Compared to Call of Duty.
it has a more realistic feel, but there's
Yes.
no war game, or there's no time in real life where you can go around destroying buildings and you get bricks put on you and you can just heal yourself.
Yeah, but
I know what you're getting at. Basically, what you're trying to say is that it feels better. Bad Company.
yes, yeah.
It's basically better handling.
Yeah, and I just thought the actual storyline as well was far better than Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, so do you want to touch on perhaps the single player?
Yeah, so the single player, I thought you follow a squad, don't you? I don't know what their squad's called.
You're part of the squad.
Yeah, and
I forget what they're called as well.
but yeah, so you go around a team of 4, I do believe it is, isn't it? Yep,
Yep.
team of 4, and basically you're up against the Russians, aren't they? And there's this Russian bad guy, or was he an American? I don't actually remember, but yeah, he was a bad guy nonetheless, obviously, and it's all about a nuclear device, which obviously is set to like make total nuclear warfare if it's set off. And I'm not gonna ruin the story for anyone at the end of the game, but
It's not exactly the best story, but yeah, it has got a somewhat
good ending to it.
yeah.
And it's a would you put it as a cliffhanger? I'd put that as a cliffhanger.
Yes, it's a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right, okay. Well, I'll continue from there on what my first game in the series was, and that was Bad Company 1. Both of us are console gamers, so we didn't really get.
I'd never heard of Battlefield 1942.
All right,
To be
okay.
honest.
I'd only heard of it. I'd never played it, but Bad Company 1, I liked it because it was the only other shooter on the market at the time that wasn't Call of Duty, that was like in a war setting,
Yeah.
a military shooter.
Don't forget Medal of Honor though. Medal of Honor was out there.
Yeah, but that was World War Two. I'm
True.
just trying to say like a modern day.
Oh,
one.
yes, yeah.
And I like Bad Company to start with because the destructible environments. That was what drew me to Bad Company or Battlefield Bad Company. I know Battlefield games have been like that as well. But yeah, I just love the destructibility of the game over the Call of Duty series. And I loved the multiplayer of just getting into tanks, getting into jeeps. It was just so much more. I just loved the whole, literally, Battlefield.
Yeah,
You
it
finish
is just,
a game of online multiplayer, it felt like a Battlefield as you finish.
it's just a massive onslaught,
Yeah.
really, isn't it? Yeah.
I will say that it was probably my favourite shooter at the time. I absolutely love Bad Company. The single player, I will say Bad Company 1 was very...
I thought that was just stupid.
Well, I think it felt like the missions didn't feel very structured at all. It really felt like, okay, here's this big open map. Go over to this place, kill these bunch of people, get these documents. Then go over to this place, and it was a little bit sort of just jump from this point, jump to that point, and the gameplay didn't feel very solid.
Yeah,
as a
I
whole.
remember playing a demo for that, and there was a bit where I think you kill one of these guys and you check his pockets, and he has a gold bar on him, in which the soldiers get paid in. I was just like,
Yeah, you collect gold bars as
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't exactly a difficult game either. I thought the single player was relatively easy, but it was enjoyable. But the multiplayer was what kept me coming back to Battlefield Bad Company. Okay, so now we're going to talk about our favourite game in this series. Go for it, Ben.
Battlefield 3 was in my
which was
opinion,
released last year.
Yep, it was. Yeah, in my opinion, it's probably the best Battlefield 3, the best Battlefield game I've ever played, and
Right.
I just feel like the way it's just set out. I mean, it's set out a lot like Bad Company 2, the multiplayer system I'm talking about here, in the way that I usually just play Rush. So you have a map, obviously. There's 2 objectives. You blow them up, you push forward, and it's obviously the other team is defending. Obviously, try and keep you away from the bombs. But I just thought that the graphics were vastly improved on.
Yeah, they were.
I
Brilliant.
thought, especially with like a HD Xbox as well.
Yeah.
And the gameplay, I don't know. It felt like it was drifting more towards Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's more streamlined.
Yes, but I like the way they done that. I didn't think that it was. They pushed it too far out, which was good. And I like the way that they still kept the Battlefield feel of blowing stuff up and getting into vehicles and blowing more people up and more stuff up. But I really enjoyed that, and I thought the campaign as well was quite in depth. The way you follow this one man and how his interrogation goes along the stages.
Remind me very much of Black Ops, but yeah.
Yeah, and I thought the way that his interrogation goes along the stages and you play like his thoughts and memories.
Yeah.
And then
Way too many quick time events in that campaign. I hated them so much.
Really?
Yes, way too many quick time events.
What ones, such as?
Just like when you go through a door and this bloke just runs at you with a knife and it just comes up with a bunch of buttons you got to press.
Yeah, I remember that there was this one thing on there. There was this mission. I picked up a rocket launcher and I ran through this door, and a guy kicked the door in, and you had to just shoot whatever weapon you had, and it blew him up. And because I had a rocket launcher, it just blew up the entire building. And for some reason, because it was obviously part of the game, I didn't die, and that was I found it hilarious.
Okay, well, I'll then say what my favourite game in the series is, which is Bad Company 2. Now, like I said, I really like Bad Company, but it did show its age after like a couple of years. So when they released Bad Company 2, it just, for me, refined everything that I liked about Bad Company 1. The vehicles, the blowing up the scenery, which now you could actually destroy buildings completely, whereas before you could only just destroy the walls.
Actually, you could destroy them completely on Battlefield 2.
No, Bad Company 1 you
sorry.
couldn't.
Yeah.
And the single player, again, was a lot better structured. It was so much more streamlined in what the objectives were. The characters as well that you were with, I thought, were much more believable. The first game, they were ridiculously, like, a little bit over the top. I know it was supposed to be over the top, but it kind of annoyed me at one point. But Bad Company 2 played that down more, and I enjoyed that immensely. And the environments were much more varied as well, so just grassy fields like in the first one.
Yes, yeah.
But the multiplayer was overall just felt so much. I don't know what the word to really use, but of Bad Company 2, I just felt like it just clicked with me so well. The different classes you could have, no one felt overpowered. No one felt like you could tackle anything with any certain character.
Yeah.
Admittedly, there were characters that were completely weak against tanks, but I love the multiplayer of Bad Company 2, and I also like Call of Duty. I won't talk about Call of Duty too much because we'll save that for another day.
Yes, yeah.
But just want to touch on Battlefield 3. I didn't like it, as you know.
Yeah, why didn't you
I
like
wouldn't say
it?
I hated it. The multiplayer just never clicked with me. It felt like it was a cross between Call of Duty and Battlefield. Now, I like Call of Duty and I like Battlefield, but Battlefield 3 felt like it tried to be a little bit more like Call of Duty, and I didn't like it. I like the more open-endedness of, if that's even a word.
That's creative for this. That's creative.
Of Bad Company 2. I just love the more open feeling of it, open-natured gameplay a lot more. But, you know, I'm not saying it's a bad game at all. I think it's a brilliant game. Graphically, it's amazing.
Yes,
I know
yeah.
that gameplay-wise, it's probably... It feels better than Bad Company 2, just shooting weapons. They feel like they've got more weight to them.
Yes.
But something just about Battlefield 3 just didn't really click with me. It's probably because it went for a serious nature. Like, really serious, ultra-serious... sort of military shooter. I just like the sort of bit more silliness of Bad Company 2, but not ridiculously silly like Bad Company 1. But overall, Bad Company 2 is, for me, my favourite game in the series. Okay, so we'll finish off with what we think for the future of the series holds. Do you want to go for it, Ben?
Yep. Well, I don't know. I'm debating whether they're going to go for Back to World War II on this, because not a lot of games like
completely disagree, but carry on.
Like, not a lot of shooters have done World War II games in the world. You think Call of Duty, Medal of Honor.
They've all moved on.
Yep, they've all even futuristic now, like Black Ops 2, for example. Not going to talk about Call of Duty. Shut up, Ben. But yeah, or I reckon they may go for a Battlefield Bad Company 3.
I would love that. I would love that.
Because obviously, Battlefield Bad Company 2 ended on a cliffhanger, so
Yes.
they've always left it open if they want to return and do a Battlefield Bad Company 3
Mm-hmm.
with their whole nuclear warfare idea. I think that'd be a great story as well, and the multiplayer.
The
I
story
reckon.
for me was, even though it was a bit silly in Bad Company 2, I enjoyed it much more in Battlefield 3. So
Yeah, I reckon they should be definitely open
Okay.
to doing that.
So for me, the future of the series, I already know what's going to happen. Ben doesn't know this, but I'm just going to say that Battlefield 4 is pretty much confirmed.
What?
So this is the first time for Ben. There's a massive fan of Battlefield 3.
So
He's
what's it
all time
about?
pleased.
What's it
I
about?
don't know what it's about. Basically,
Oh.
I don't know if you've noticed, but for EA, they're doing the Activision thing with the Call of Duty every year. They're doing Medal of Honor 1 year, Battlefield the next year. Medal of Honor 1 year, Battlefield the next year.
Oh, see, I didn't even know Medal of Honor was made by EA.
The year before last, they released Medal of Honor, the remake.
Yeah.
Last year, they released Battlefield 3. This year, they've released Medal of Honor Warfighter.
Yep.
Next year. And then with the... Sorry, let's just go back to the original Medal of Honor. I say original Medal of Honor. The one that came out in 2010. That had access to Battlefield 3 beta, didn't it?
Yes.
So one of the reasons why a lot of people bought that game was just to play Battlefield 3 beta.
Yeah, I had a Battlefield 3 beta.
So if you look at Medal of Honor Warfighter, on the top of it, it's got Battlefield 4 beta.
I might go out and buy that now. Honestly.
It's not out yet, is it?
No, I mean the
beta's-
Warfighter.
The beta's not out yet. It's
Yeah,
just-
no, I'm still gonna go buy
Right.
Warfighter just for the beta.
Right. Well, there you go. That's how much of a Battlefield fan this kid is. But yeah, I don't think I've actually properly announced it. There's no trailers for it, as far as I'm aware. At least not from this recording. So Battlefield 4 is already a thing.
No, I wonder what it's about.
Probably more of the same in Battlefield 3.
Maybe like they've involved some zombies or
No.
something cool like that, some unicorns.
That's the thing. Another reason why I don't like. See, Call of Duty, even though it's a bit it's over the top, but it's a bit tongue in cheek. Don't want to go too much to Call of Duty, but Battlefield just seemed way too serious. It took itself far too seriously. Battlefield 3.
Do you think?
Yeah, and I think Bad Company 3. I would love that so much more, but Battlefield 4 is a thing. So I'm guessing that 2 years from there will be Battlefield 5, and they'll probably keep doing that until they eventually realise that okay, this isn't certain anymore. I mean, eventually people will probably stop buying military shooters.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they may even go into the future of Battlefield 4. Don't know. But really, I think we'll just end it there by saying we both enjoy the Battlefield series a lot.
Definitely.
We both have our favourites.
Yep.
Battlefield 2 is better.
No, it's not.
Sorry, Battlefield Bad Company 2 is better.
I think you actually meant
I've
Battlefield
just ruined
Bad
it already.
Company.
Anyway, see you later. And next time we'll be talking about a certain series beginning with C. You can probably might be able to guess what that is.
I don't think they've sold too much copies though with C.
Alright, we're finishing it there. Bye.
Bye.